Jack paid a hefty sum for a corpse that had been dead for quite some time, pretending it was his father, and had it sent to a private hospital for emergency treatment. He tearfully begged the doctors to save his father at all costs, saying he was willing to pay whatever it took. The doctor didn't ask many questions and didn't even bother to examine the patient's condition before wheeling the corpse straight into the operating room. It wasn't until they began their examination that they discovered the body was already ice cold. But the doctors still insisted on performing surgery on this person who had been dead for ages. They had already figured out the family's psychology. That young man was clearly a devoted son who would spare no expense to save his father's life. And this was the perfect opportunity for them to squeeze money out of the family. So a group of doctors began putting on an elaborate show, bustling in and out as if they were desperately trying to save a life. The attending physician approached Jack and handed him a list, saying his father's condition was critical and he needed to immediately buy these medications. And they could only be purchased at the pharmacy next to the hospital because many of the specialized drugs were only available there. Jack looked at the list of medications, dozens of them, but had no idea what each drug was for. Following the list, he bought 2 large bags full of medicine at the pharmacy. When he handed the drugs to the nurse and kept asking what these medications were supposed to treat, the nurse coldly responded that his father's condition was complicated and he wouldn't understand even if she explained it. After saying this, the nurse turned around and returned all the medicine to the pharmacy unopened, and even scolded the pharmacist for not prescribing more expensive drugs. Right after Jack finished buying the medicine, the doctor came out again and told him he needed to pay an additional $500,000 in surgical fees. Jack was puzzled. Hadn't he already paid the surgical fees when he first arrived? The doctor replied without missing a beat that his father's illness was complex and required a specialist, and specialists charged separately. Jack paid the hefty fee once again. Then a specialist with a grave expression entered the operating room. The family waited anxiously outside the operating room, but inside it was completely relaxed. The doctors and nurses gathered around chatting, and every half hour they'd send someone out of the operating room, instantly switching their expression from cheerful to somber, like a group of actors. They kept coming out of the operating room, again and again, making Jack pay fees. It wasn't until Jack had spent every penny of his savings that a doctor finally came out with a heavy expression and told him they had done everything they could, but his father couldn't be saved and had passed away. Jack kept pleading with the doctor to try again, but the doctor said no matter how hard they tried, they couldn't bring a dead person back to life. At that moment, Jack's emotions suddenly shifted from anxiety to calm. He said to the doctor, "Aren't you specialists in treating dead people?" Then he pulled out a death certificate and told the doctor that the corpse wasn't his father at all, but a body he had bought from the crematorium that had been dead for days. "You've been busy in there for over 8 hours. What exactly were you doing? As long as I still had money, there was still hope he could be saved, right?"